I'm Pat Jones, and I served in the House of Representatives for 6 years and in the State Senate for 8 years. I'm heading the Women's Leadership Institute, and we are here today to talk to some of our previous graduates of our political development series. And I wanted to introduce Sophia DeCaro, who's on the WLI board.
I'm Sophia DeCaro. I served in the governor's office for about 13 years before deciding to run for public office. I ran for a term, one term, served in the Utah House of Representatives, and currently I am a candidate for the Salt Lake County Council at-large seat.
My name is Bev Weepy. I am currently Mill Creek City Councilwoman in District 4. I ran 2 elections just recently, and I am currently appointed with the governor's office as well.
And my name's Kelleen Potter, and I'm currently the mayor of Heber City. I also was on the city council for a term, and years ago worked in the Levitt administration.
I use the strength of being a female.
Yeah.
I use that, and I use my looks to ease a very tough situation sometimes. So I do use it to my advantage.
How do you leverage
I
it?
strategically wear red because I know everyone else is either going to be in a gray suit or a blue suit. There's one time I wore a dress that was a blue and black stripe, big stripes. It was beautiful, but I made it a point that they will always remember me because I will say something to them. I'll do the sprinkler when you're up in committee. But I try and make some type of a connection with every one of them because they're going to be a huge part of my agency's budget.
Yeah.
So I do it very strategically, working with the DOC.
Women do so well.
Yeah, what Men in Blue, walking in with I was a trump to the Men in Blue.
Nonverbal communication.
Nonverbal communication, and I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna show up tomorrow in a hot pink
Own
dress
this room and
with
take
my
up
white
space.
stilettos tomorrow, and they were all in blue in uniform, most of them were
Always,
bald,
Yeah, always.
and I, made sure my hair was big,
Yeah.
red lipstick. I mean, everything that they have an idea about women, I made sure I looked like it. But part of it too was easing tense situations. It was more collaborative for me to be the only female at the table and have them soften. Like, I'm not here with a gun. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna back my agency up, but let's do it in a different manner.
What was your experience, Kelleen?
As being a woman,
Yeah.
I'm in a smaller community, and so kind of in a small town, sometimes you end up having different dynamics. I'd say we haven't had as many women in leadership. We've never had a female mayor, and so I found the same thing. Like today, there's a golf tournament they have every year. I haven't been invited to that, but the city managers are always invited. The men are always invited. But I do find that people are respectful, and I also dress. Sometimes I'll wear heels if I'm know that I'm going to be around people and I want to be a little taller and take up space. Like you talked about that whole idea of taking up space, and I'll think I got to wear heels today. And part of it is a psychological thing for me when I feel a little taller. I know that that's something you can't control a lot, but I've thought about it before consciously to think, I've got that. That TED Talk about the Wonder Woman pose that they talk about, doing your pose before you walk in. And I've done that multiple times where you're just feeling like, okay, I'm owning this and I'm taking up space. And because it was a little disconcerting in the beginning because I felt like I was I didn't know everything that they knew. And I don't know how sewers work and, how power works. And now I'm the chair of the power board. And, we're talking about all these things that I didn't pay attention to my whole life. And it seemed like there were a lot of men that are just automatically knew that because they paid more attention to it. I'm generalizing, but you know what I mean. Like, we just went and saw a nuclear power plant, and I felt like I was at a disadvantage because I didn't understand all of those things. But I also feel like people are respectful and they listen, and it's easy to get educated on things. When in the past, I don't know about that. You just put the time in, you dig in, and a competent woman can do anything.
And a competent woman is usually surrounded by experts.
Yes.
So you don't always have to be the expert. A woman in leadership will have a research consultant or an aide or an intern or
leader, someone who, not someone who'll do the work, but someone who really brings an expertise to the table that can help you navigate the conversation, but you don't have to be the expert
Right,
at
you can find
everything.
people.
Mhm.
I know, I think most of us kind of feel like, they call it the imposter syndrome.
Yes.
You know, am I smart enough? Do I know enough when I go to the door and they ask me a question? Will I look stupid?
I think part of it is just being comfortable with who you are. You know, you're not going to know everything, and a lot of it's, you know, similar to making the decision of whether or not to run for office. There's a lot of, you know, fear-based things that can hold you back. Sometimes you just have to step into the unknown and embrace that uncomfortable space and get comfortable with that. And I find that, you know, if you can do that and be comfortable in your skin and know that you're not going to know everything, and don't, you know, just be honest about it, that the pieces will fall into place.
I look at my years in the legislature as actually like going to school. It built my confidence. You know, it wasn't like you have to have confidence first and then you run. It's like maybe you're not confident and you can run and accomplish something great. You can also help yourself personally by learning how to speak to groups, by learning how to write, which is something that, you know, of course we all want to do, and problem solve and critically think. You know, so those skills are honed in spades when you're in public office. And they're skills that our
Yes.
companies are looking for and they're having
Right.
a hard time finding. So I kind of see running for and holding office is a way to really improve your own personal skills. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. What my perceived weaknesses were in budgeting and numbers, even though I'd had some classes, and I would come into those meetings and I would watch people just rattle through and they could look at a spreadsheet and they could, you know, take all this information out of it, and I would feel this like sick to my stomach going, oh, I don't know all that. But what you just said about being honest, like I realized over time what my strengths were, and there are things that I could do that those budgeting people couldn't do, and I could communicate the whole picture to people in a simpler way. I could, you know, rally people together, and I just started realizing what my skill set was as we went through this, and started letting go of things to say, I don't have to do everything. I'm not an accountant, and that's okay because I have something to contribute here that's needed and is valuable to this organization.
Well, you're the
And I-
mayor.
Exactly.
There you
That's
go.
what I
That's
wasn't. Yeah.
right.
At the time I wasn't, but I had to convince myself that I would be good at being the mayor,
And you would
even
be
though I
the-
couldn't
yeah.
do everything as well or better than everybody else. Like you pick everyone else's best quality. I think women do that, where you go,
Yes.
but they're really good at that and they're good at that, and I should be better than all of them at everything. So I think I was able to go, I have a good education, I'm competent, I'm a listener, I mean, I can do all the things I need to do well in this position, because I had to talk myself through all that before I had the confidence to run for mayor.
Well, and one of the added elements and skills that you do get through public office and public service in general is networking, learning how to work with people, learning how to navigate through difficult personalities or different personalities. But that is a skill set that you gain through these kinds of experiences that I think, you know, you can carry with you through you know
Yes.
future endeavors. But that's absolutely something that I think is beneficial through this process.
And I think for me, a huge confidence booster was having my father. So my dad was in the legislature 1988 to 1992. I was in high school. I was knocking on doors for him. I just kept thinking to myself, why on earth would anyone want to run for office? I mean, he had abortion, he had gun control kind of at the time. And I reflect on that. And I just, you know, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So everything I pushed away, you know, kind of started to come back to me as I got older. I think for me, it was, you have to be the voice for minorities. You have to be the voice for women. You have to be the voice for different family structures. I'm a single mom. And I'll tell you, that was the one thing I thought would come back to bite. That was my biggest fear of having to address that I was a single mom. And people wondering how I'm going to do it. How I'm going to be a single mom, take care of my child, work a full-time job, and take care of my city. I was terrified of that. I only got that question a couple of times. I made that fear, that the unknown, so much bigger than what it really was. And I was only asked it a couple of times. You know, it's had some challenges here and there, but I think it's just, I feel like my son is, as much as I want him to be a priority, he's just always been on my priority list, right? He will figure things out. He feeds himself when I have late nights, like council meetings until 10:30 last night. But he's able to help. It's almost been a partnership where my career goals have been important. It's just now I think I'm starting to regret not spending more time with him because he's a teenager and he's too cool to hang out with me. He's starting to get to that point. And those are some of the sacrifices we have to, be realistic about. I am so fortunate that I had the village of my community. Many I grew up with in the community. My parents live in my district, so we've been able to rally, but absolutely there's some challenges that come with working a full-time job where you want to do a great job for the citizens of Utah. You want to serve your community well, and you hope to be an apple in someone's eye that's 14 and probably too cool.
We get that question a lot. Is can I manage it? Can I balance all of the things? Because everybody's busy, and I always respond. It's almost like you wish they could have the experience first
Yeah.
before they go through. Because I think that you're actually setting an example for your family. Your son will grow up being proud of you and saying, "My mother was on the city council," and and I helped her and I supported her.
Yeah.
I know that's happened to my grandchildren. Who came to visit me when I was in the Senate, and sitting on my lap. I have pictures of them when they're little. Now they're graduating from high school, but you don't realize the impact you have on them by setting that example. So even though it is difficult for everybody, but isn't it difficult whether you're in
Absolutely.
office or
Yeah,
you're
it is.
filling
Absolutely.
your time with something else?
Yeah, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. Don't
It-
get me
it
wrong. We
is.
figure it out, right?
Well, and I
Yeah.
have
Figure it all
to
out.
be fair to the men in my life
Exactly.
too, because I would not have been able to do anything that I've done without the support of my wonderful husband. And one of the fears I had was that we have different last names. I thought, I'm going to be judged because I, don't do this or I don't fit into the perfect mold of this. But I found that to be just, it never came up. And my husband was out there campaigning with me. I know it's not the case for everybody, but I will say that I had his support through everything I've done, have his support, and that has made a world of difference. And the men, I think, that you surround yourself with make a
Absolutely.
big difference. It's
Yes.
just like your son.
Absolutely.
You know.
He had his football team knock in.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
there are the benefits of being in office and even influencing others, right? Without even knowing it. Like you say, not just my son, but
Mhm.
football teams, cousins, nieces and nephews, everyone was willing to do honkin' waves.
Right. And I remember we were at one of the classes, and I'd made a comment to Pat about it was one of those times when I was really struggling with that, feeling guilty that I was leaving and balancing all of it. And I said, my house and my kids. And you said something to me that really hit me, and you said, yeah, but you are doing something more important for those kids, and you're changing their community and their world, something to that extent that really hit me. And I thought, some women have to do this. Like, if we don't do this, those girls don't think it's a possibility for them. They think the only possibility for them is, to stay at home and not work, and if that's what they see, and they can choose that. But I want them to know that you can choose something else. They can choose to run for office if that's where their heart is. And my kids, I started watching for things that they would say and do, and I noticed how proud they were, and how the kids at the school would say, "Mayor, Mayor, Mayor," and they.
Yeah.
I took my daughter and her friend on Main
That's
Street,
great.
and we went and did this. The committee was doing some things to take pictures, and they came and did it with me, and I thought, those are things I couldn't provide. I might have had a cleaner house, and I might have made more homemade food if I'd stayed home, but these are things that are changing the way they see the world and the possibilities for them in the world. And I appreciated you telling me that, because it helped shift me at that moment when I needed it. So.
Representative Becky Edwards once said, and I used this in one of our videos, that as women we would stand in front of a freight train for our kids, would we not?
Oh yeah.
So
Oh,
good.
absolutely.
Yes.
Why
Absolutely.
wouldn't we run for office, which is a little easier than
It's
standing in front of a train, and actually make policy changes to make their lives better in the future? It's critical that we have more women.
Advice I have for budding female applicants or people who are interested, young girls, young boys, even especially of color, that I would love to encourage is you're enough. And I think that's a huge question when you're wondering whether to throw your name into the hat is, am I enough? Do I know enough? We've heard over and over again people telling us statistically, research shows that women wait until they are 100% qualified. Well, what's 100% qualified in elected office, right? There's really no checklist that says you have to have a master's, you have to have this, you have to have certain qualities. You have to be willing to talk to people. You have to have, relationship skills. And so put your name in the hat. Everyone's enough. You're enough to run, and you'll be enough throughout the process, and you have wonderful colleagues and wonderful friends that you build along the way, like we do here at the table.
I completely agree with the "you're enough" sentiment, and I'm going to play off that just a little bit. I think there's something about, I would tell people when I was running, because they'd say, "Why do you want to do this?" And I'd say, I don't know if it's God or the universe or something, but some people just have the gene. They just have the interest. And sometimes I think the interest that we have and the thing that we're attracted to is what we really are good at. And even though we haven't done it before and we don't know that we can do it, I would just encourage people who are interested, budding female politician wannabes, to just go for it, because there's something about you that you have to contribute, whether it's your life perspective or something that you have to give that's going to make a difference to you and to your community or to wherever you choose to run and serve. And whether you win or not doesn't even matter. Like, if you feel it and you think, I want to do that, there's a reason for it, and you just go for it.
I don't think of another place that you can go where you can have those kinds of opportunities. And, I'm just going to finish by saying, Rosie the Riveter.
Oh,
No, we can
Oh,
do
yeah.
it. We can do it. Come on, girls.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, we got this.
We can do it. Yeah, we can do it. We can do it.